I'm meteorologist Evan Stewart. It's Monday, October 26, 2020, and here's your tropical update. The big story, of course, is Hurricane Zeta. Let's take a look back. First, talk about the hurricane season. As you know, quite a while ago, we blew through our normal list of names from Arthur all the way to Wilfred, and for only the second time, we had to go over to the Greek alphabet. The last time we did that was 2005, and it was in December of 2005 that we got up to Zeta. 27 named storms so far this year. 2005 had 28, and I'll talk a little bit more about why. We've still got the Zeta both times, but there's an extra storm in there somewhere. We'll talk about that here in the next few minutes as well. First, the Atlantic hurricane season peaks on September 10th. Here's where we are in the late October. Notice how we really see activity ramp down, especially as we get into the month of November. As a matter of fact, only about 5% of the named storms form in the month of November, 17% form in the month of October. So we are certainly on the downward trend, but we still have that tropical system down there. That is Hurricane Zeta. As we take a look at the tropical statistics, the number of named storms per year, we average 12 named storms, and the Colorado State University forecast for this year was 24. Right now, we're up to number 27, and I mentioned the record is 28. Now, that's a little bit confusing because after the hurricane season, the National Hurricane Center goes back and reviews everything, and they found one storm that they said, you know what, it was a tropical storm. We should have named it. We didn't, but it would have been if we would have seen it. So they actually upped the number in 2005 to 28. So we got to the same number of names, up to Zeta in the Greek alphabet, but there was one unnamed named storm. I know that's a little bit confusing, but basically they just said if we had caught on to it at that time, we would have named it, and then we would have been up to 28 named storms. So far this year, we're up to 27, but we're tied in the list as far as names go. And as far as hurricanes, number of hurricanes per year, we average about 7. So far this year, we've had 11. The record also in 2005 was 15 hurricanes, and the CSU forecast for this year is 12. So if things are on track, we might see another hurricane form. This is the visible satellite view. This is really just the satellite taking a camera picture of the clouds, and as we get closer to sunset, we start to lose that image. But I really like as the sun gets lower on the horizon, you can sort of see the shadows from the clouds. This is Hurricane Zeta as of 5 o'clock, winds of 80 miles per hour. It's moving to the northwest at 10, and it's about 90 miles from Cozumel, Mexico, there on the island. It was only a few weeks ago that this area was hit by another storm and crossed into the Gulf of Mexico. So here's the forecast track for Zeta. We've already got hurricane watches and alerts posted for the Louisiana coastline, because once it crosses over the Yucatan, it's expected to get back into the Gulf of Mexico, strengthen maybe a little bit to winds of 80 miles per hour, and then late Wednesday come ashore somewhere along the Louisiana coastline. Once again, this will be the 5th named storm, or the 5th tropical system to impact Louisiana this hurricane season. Notice the remnants work their way off towards the northeast and fall apart, but we'll likely see some rain late Thursday into Friday from the remnants of Zeta and a cold front that's moving through. Water temperatures, plenty warm for the storm to maintain its strength, but once it gets closer to the coastline, the water temperatures do drop off a little bit. And the other big thing that we have is some wind shear that will impact the storm as we get later into the forecast period. Not as much as we get into the first half of the day on Wednesday, but it does look like a little bit of southwesterly shear will keep the storm from significantly strengthening. But we have seen several storms so far this year strengthen as they move into the Gulf of Mexico. So that's something we'll have to watch pretty closely over the next day or so. As I mentioned, so far this year, we've had 10 named storms make landfall. This would be the 11th. And you can see we had Bertha in South Carolina. Cristobal was the first one in Louisiana. Then we had Faye that sort of skirted Florida and then went up to New Jersey. Hannah hit Texas. Isaias, of course, you remember, made landfall here in North Carolina. Then we had Marco and Laura and Sally hit along the Gulf Coast, Beta in Texas, and then Delta in Louisiana. And now we have Zeta that'll likely be the 5th landfalling tropical system in the state of Louisiana. So certainly we are watching that very closely, and our hearts go out to the folks down there who have just been dealing with all of these tropical systems this year. That's the latest on Hurricane Zeta and our tropical forecast. We'll, of course, have another update tomorrow.